Alright, so for this video, I want to talk about something that I think of as the direction of the improvised jazz line. And this idea came as I was practicing a tune and wondering, I wasn't really feeling satisfied with what I was playing and trying to figure out what about it was bothering me. And I realized that even though you might know the appropriate chord tones and scale tones that go with a set of chords, even if you play those correctly, theoretically correctly over each chord, unless you have some sense of the way that the line itself reflects the sense of direction of the underlying chord progression, it doesn't quite feel right. Let me explain what I'm talking about. So what I'm going to look at is just the first four chords of the standard tune, It Could Happen to You, which has a really strong sense of direction. So it's like E flat major, and then up a half step to this E diminished chord, up a half step to F minor 7, up a half step to this F sharp diminished, and then back to E flat. So we have this string of chords going up chromatically. We start with this major chord, and then we have this diminished. And what's the scale that goes with diminished? Is it a diminished scale, perhaps? And then F minor. What's the scale that goes with that? Some sort of F minor scale. And then this F sharp diminished, we use another diminished scale of some kind, and then resolving back to E flat major. Maybe, but I think that's a little bit, that kind of takes us down the wrong path a little bit. And this actually is an extension on a couple things. One, the video that I made before that was talking about soloing over blue and green, where we were talking about playing over altered chords, different approaches to that. This is similar to that idea. So what we're going to do is we're thinking in terms of chords that are on strong parts of the progression and chords that are on weak parts of the progression. In other words, chords of resolution and chords that anticipate or set up a resolution. This idea of a chord progression that has a sense of forward motion to it, forward momentum. There are chords that have a function of tension and then chords that have a function of release. So in this progression, this E flat, the first chord is the home chord, so it's a chord of release. Then this next chord, diminished, is a chord of tension. It feels like it's moving somewhere. It's a chord that's in between two chords of rest. So we can think of it as a passing chord. F minor is not totally at rest, but definitely more so than the chord that preceded it. And then this chord, F sharp diminished, is another passing chord of tension, and then resolve to E flat again. So with that in mind, I want to play lines that reflect that idea. I want to play lines that have a sense of moving towards the point of resolution. So I'm actually not even going to be thinking about a scale that goes over the tension chords, because I'm thinking about just playing lines that play into the resolution chords. So let me demonstrate. So here's our 1, and I'll just play a little phrase over that. Home key. Just playing in E flat, and then this E diminished. I'm not thinking about diminished, I'm thinking about playing a line that moves towards F minor and play it. Alright, that. I'm thinking about playing towards the third of F minor. So. Yeah, and then here, this F sharp diminished, I want to play a line that is moving towards E flat. So I'm actually playing a line in E flat over this F sharp diminished. Yeah, so let's do another idea. So here, back to the top, E flat major. So in terms of the scales, I'm thinking about the first one, E flat, then E diminished. I'm not thinking of a scale. I'm thinking about really just still E flat, but kind of moving towards this F minor chord tones. And here, F sharp diminished, thinking E flat again, because that's what we're moving towards. Let's keep going a bit. A flat major 7. That's a, so here we go. 1 again, and then a 4 chord. I'm not thinking of a separate scale for that 4 chord. I'm still thinking of in the home key. And we have a G minor 7 flat 5. So 2 chord, like a 2-5 going to F minor. So I'm going to think about basically playing in F minor here. That. We'll just go that far. So just take it from the top again. And just one other point I would make is that when we talk about, you often hear people talk about leaving space in your solo, and that's a fine idea. You know, I think about we can leave space just to create the possibility of interaction with the rhythm section, or also just to give your ideas more of a sense of shape, where you have air to breathe around the a sense of your phrases. But that's all true. But also where this idea of leaving space comes in is about playing lines that move towards these points of resolution. So we don't necessarily want to start strong right at the top of a tension chord. You could hit the tension chord, let it breathe, then somewhere inside of that tension chord, start the line and then move it towards the resolution point. All right, so that's all I want to talk about in this video. There's a great book that kind of gets into some of these ideas in a slightly different way, but it was definitely influential on me when I got it. It's a book written by Hal Galper, a great piano player. It's called Forward Motion. So I'd recommend checking that out too. It's excellent. And the idea there, he covers a lot of different things, but kind of the core idea is, you know where you're heading towards. You have a destination point in mind in the line. You're heading towards a particular chord tone on a chord of resolution, and you sort of work your way backwards and say, how do you create a line that moves towards that resolution point? And that's what gives the line what he describes as a sense of forward motion. So check that out. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And as always, any comments are welcome. And see you again next time.